what's up guys? It's Rose Regent and Chloe here today. We're going to be doing another react video. We're going to be reacting to Downfall of the Democrats, the truth about the 2024 election. I hope you guys are ready. We haven't really seen anything about it so far. Yeah.
I am politically illiterate. I didn't
We're
even
aware.
follow the election. I didn't vote or anything. Last time I voted, it was for Mickey Mouse, because I don't know anything about anybody or what's happening around me. I like my rock.
People are entitled to their own decisions. They just can't complain with the results.
Election night in America, one of the most consequential elections in recent history.
Donald Trump has won the presidential election in Kentucky.
I just want to say the the girl's like, we're gonna win. It's like it's a fucking schoolyard behavior.
I like the clown music in the background.
Yes, I love the music too. It's nostalgic. It rubs my nostalgia brain.
To Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. Missouri will go to Donald Trump.
It's clear now that Donald Trump has picked up key support among Hispanic voters, despite all the things that he said.
Donald Trump will win the state of North Carolina.
That the state of Georgia will go to former President Donald Trump.
The evening was getting increasingly somber as people realized what this map is looking like.
CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Kamala Harris is not winning.
So you won't hear from the vice president tonight?
News Decision Desk can now officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
Do you really think that the Democratic Party is fighting for you? The overwhelming answer is no.
What's this in the wine glass?
Well.
That's
What have we
genius.
learned? Nothing, apparently. I regret to inform you, everything I predicted about the election in my last video came true and more. Men did overwhelmingly turn out for Trump, especially young men. But I was wrong about one thing. Young men weren't the only ones who came out in droves for Trump. Nearly everyone did. The madman took everything, every swing state, Pennsylvania, Georgia, my home state, New York, was closer to flipping red than Florida was to flipping blue. Turns out Dick Cheney as Brad wasn't the best message to win over voters. Dems did so bad it really had me thinking, damn, did we steal that election? So what happened here? How did it go so wrong? Is it too late for the Democratic Party, or can they turn this around? Will the Democrats learn from this, or will they double down and get worse? In this video, I'm going to go through all the excuses and the copes the Democrats and the broader left are coming up with to avoid accountability. Read some silly tweets, watch some silly news clips, and even give the Democratic Party some advice on how to win 2028. Don't worry, Republicans watching this. They won't listen. Maybe in 2050, under the barren Trump monarchy, someone might come to their senses, but not anytime soon. If you only watched or read most mainstream liberal news, it really seemed like Kamala had this in the bag, which is why you should try to get your news from a variety of different sources.
There's no point in saying good morning, because it certainly is not one.
From blaming the American people to blaming Joe Rogan, the Democrats and the media are having a hard time coping with their loss, and I don't blame them. It was a pretty big loss. Embarrassing, quite frankly. Donald Trump overperformed in nearly every state, with basically every demographic, and the entire country seems to—
So, to explain this map, basically.
Are those little swords?
No, they're arrows. The longer the arrow, basically, the more they moved in that particular political direction. So all of those red arrows are counties that moved in a red direction. And I don't know if you noticed, but there's not a lot of blue in there.
No.
to be shifting more red. Everyone was so sure dangerous, devious, dastardly Donald would never make his way back into the White House to steal democracy. And he did it. With democracy. Anyway, I got a lot of comments on my last video like, wait, you're left-wing and you hate the Democrats? Yeah man, that's a pretty common thing. If you were shocked that I'm left-wing, maybe that's a sign you need to take a step back and evaluate some of the preconceived stereotypes you have of people. Not all of us are crazy blue-haired socialists, no. Some of us are crazy brown-haired socialists. But for those of you who are new here, hello, I am Shoeonhead. If you ask the right wing, I am Stalin. If you ask the left wing, I am Hitler. Fiscally far left, culturally centrist, socially retarded. But if you really must put me in a box, it's not that hard to pin me down. I'm a populist. Think Huey Long if he was a 5'3" Italian New Yorker woman.
Huey Long, I'm gonna be honest, is based.
Who still did her hair and makeup like it was 2008. Put a pin in that Huey Long name, by the way. He's gonna come up later. I grew up in the 90s and the 2000s. My political awakening was jibjab.com. The first time I voted for Obama. I was ready for that hope and change. Instead, we got the crushing of Occupy Wall Street and more drone strikes. And from there, it only got worse.
People were expecting differently from Obama, to be honest.
I remember he played golf a lot.
People really expected him to shut down like Guantanamo and fucking not do drone strikes, but he was just like, nope, this is what we're doing.
I voted for Bernie in the primaries in 2016, and I watched as the Democratic Party did everything in their power to destroy this man twice. So it is safe to say I am a little biased when it comes to the Democratic Party, but I don't think I've hated them more than I do right now. The truth is, my last video was way meaner and way harsher than the final product turned out to be. When I showed the video to my assistant, he basically had an intervention with me and he was like, listen, you need to soften this up a bit. It's a few days before the election. You went too hard. Well, the election is over. And I'm sorry, River, but I'm going hard. You idiots. You morons. You imbeciles. Kamala Harris? Really? That's who you threw up there? The one who dropped out before Iowa? The one who got blown the f out by Tulsi Gabbard? Why didn't you hold a primary? Aren't you the f***ing saviors of democracy? Where the f was the democracy? Oh,
That was another thing that made people very upset, that there was no primary, that she was kind of just shoved into the nominee spot, despite like you know, not being the president. People were just not happy with that, and also a lot of people like questioned them picking her in the first place. Like, obviously because, you know, she's already unpopular. Why would you pick the most unpopular person for what's quote unquote one of the most important elections of our lifetime?
Congratulations to Tim Walz on being the first white male DEI hire. It didn't f***ing work.
Yeah, no, she's gonna get into it, but honestly, the VP they picked for Harris's campaign, oh my god, that is so embarrassing. I could never have been that guy. I'm gonna be honest. I would have rather killed myself. Because essentially he had to act like he was like actor playing a man, like not being genuine to himself, and like also like a caricature of what a man should be.
DNC completely neutered that guy, reduced him to this weird token white man. Hello, fellow men, I too play football. But hey, men weren't the only demographic you completely dropped the ball with. Trump made incredible gains with women, too. Oh, and all those never-Trumpers you tried to court, the people who like the old, respectable GOP. You know, the old, respectable GOP that led us into a pointless war that cost us trillions of dollars and millions of lives. But we're at least nice on Twitter. That GOP. Yeah, they didn't come out and vote for your ass either. So you got Liz Cheney to tag along for what? For f***ing what? You raised $1 billion and ended up 20 million in debt? Where the
Now that is another crazy thing, I'm gonna be honest. How did you manage to spend all that money? Imagine right now, Chloe, you had $1 billion. What would you do to get 20 million in debt?
I wouldn't even know what to do with $1 billion.
Exactly. Like, how does that happen? Like, you have to be actually fiscally like retarded to actually lose that much money. Like, like even if like you're like going to the most expensive venues, which I'm guessing I had to have done that, and like get the most expensive speaker possible. I'm guessing they also had to do that too. But still, even then, $1 billion is a lot of fucking money. How did you manage to spend that much?
Hell did all that money go? Maybe you should have blown it all on celebrity appearances that did nothing. Or maybe it was spending 6 figures on a single-use set for the Call Her Daddy podcast that didn't even hit 1 million views. I want to see a full audit of this campaign, because I wouldn't be surprised if this was all like a big money laundering scheme, because honestly, that makes more sense than this being a legitimate presidential campaign. Then, they had the audacity to beg their supporters for money after she lost.
There's another thing that made people very angry, is that after she lost, she started begging for money. It doesn't make any sense.
You? How about every DNC consultant should have this map sewn onto the inside of their eyelids? May they never have a peaceful wink of sleep for the rest of their miserable lives. So that is how I feel about the whole situation. But what do Democrats and the media think? What do they think the Harris campaign did wrong? Why do they think Kamala lost?
I think Harris ran a really good campaign. If there's one person I do not blame for this loss, it is Vice President Harris.
This is gonna be a long fucking video. The media this morning saying Dems need to have a reckoning. No, we don't. We can't be blamed because we expected Americans to be who they always claim they are. Democrats don't have a messaging problem. America has a racism problem.
Voting is not based on race. Woo! Glad we could clear that up. I mean, sure, I know some people are racist, but that's not a majority of people anymore, in my opinion.
Well, everything seems to be blamed on racism, whether it's racism based or not.
Yeah, and in all honesty,
people just throw labels on anything just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
Kamala ran a flawless campaign in 100 days, and I refuse to let y'all gaslight me into believing anything other than that. She lost because she's a woman, and a black one at that.
I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign.
Listen, I'm no political analyst, but losing seems like a pretty big flaw. Truly, don't overthink it. It's because she's a woman, she's a black woman. Don't overthink it. In fact, don't think about it at all.
And Kamala Harris lived up to our dreams. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. She ran a remarkable 107-day emergency campaign full of joy and hope.
Kamala Harris was the perfect candidate, and she ran a beautiful campaign of joy, empathy, and unity. Joy and empathy and unity doesn't motivate people to go to the polls. No wonder Republicans had incredible turnout and so many Democrats stayed home. This isn't Steven's universe. You just can't, like, joy and empathy and unity your way out of not being able to afford food for your family.
The Democrats really pushed on, like, the election being about democracy, unity, and like joy and stuff like that. And that's not really what people are really caring about at the end of the day, because their basic needs aren't being met.
You can't unity your way out of the gas prices.
Right, and you can't unity out your way out of not being able to afford food.
Like, minimum wage doesn't meet minimum rent anymore.
Right, and
you know how people are always like, you shouldn't spend more than a third of your income on your monthly rent.
Yeah.
Well, our income is our monthly rent, and there's like nothing extra to live off of.
Yeah.
You can't unity your way out of that one.
CNN has a story titled, Where the Harris Campaign Went Wrong. Nope, I won't read it. Harris ran a great campaign. The story should be titled, Where the American People Went Wrong. La la la, I can't hear you, la 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 la, I can't hear you, it's not me, it's you, la 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 la. The cope is unreal here. They don't even want to listen to criticism. They really think they did absolutely nothing wrong. They only see this as a Trump win, and not a Democrat failure. Kamala Harris was not a flawed candidate. America is a flawed country. This incredible tweet here is from Shannon Watts, who is on the board of Emerge America, which is an organization that, quote, shows Democratic women how to run for office. Yeah, we're never getting a female president.
Joe Biden's been a phenomenal president. He's lived up to so many of the promises he's made. There's one promise left that he could fulfill, being a transitional figure. He could resign the presidency in the next 30 days, make Kamala Harris the president of the United States.
Whoa.
It would absolve her.
What the f is this Make-A-Wish president shit? Like she's a little kid who wants to play pretend. Oh, just let her for a few days. What? Please tell me we're not gonna get the first female president out of pity. Well done, America. You failed them both. The people cannot let politicians down. That's not.
That is true. Politicians are there for you, not the other way around. They you know, you don't have to be there for a politician. They're there to represent
The
you.
entire idea of politics is just fucking stupid.
Well, at the end of the day, it's realistically not from a society perspective, because the idea is essentially they're there to represent you, so you don't have to physically be there to represent yourself. Essentially, it's basically like taking away, like, an extra task from yourself and giving it to somebody else who can do the task for you. Really have a good.
Especially what I've noticed in the Electoral College is they don't really pay attention to the majority of the people, and they do it their own way.
So,
Like, we live in an age of technology. It's not very hard to have everybody just click a button. It would work in an ideal world, but we do not live in an ideal world, and because of that, it just kind of screws itself right over.
Right, but at the same time,
it needs to be fixed.
Even in a ideal world, you handling it yourself is not feasible, if that makes sense.
Well, no, but in an ideal world, the person meant to represent you would listen to the people that they're meant to represent.
Right, but yeah, it's still a system that has merit regardless, even if they don't always listen.
Merit and like 20,000 different flaws that should be fixed.
Yeah.
I get we don't live in an ideal world, but we shouldn't just let corrupt people
I'm not saying
fucking trample all over the rest of us.
I'm not saying we should. I'm just I'm just saying that they exist for a reason, not like the corrupt ones. Those ones can go to hell. I'm not saying that they should exist. I'm saying that politicians in general serve a purpose.
At this point, I think we should just toss out every one of the politicians we currently have and then restart. Try again. It's not working very well. It's not working as intended
It's
anymore.
not going to work as intended until the two-party system goes away, and that's
Not
not
how
going
this
away.
works. As a politician, you are not owed anyone's vote. You have to earn it, and evidently she didn't earn it. We already went through this in 2016. Donald Trump beat both female candidates. Donald iron sealing Trump. It's not our fault the female candidates you're putting up are dog shit. Give us some good female candidates and maybe people will vote for them. At this rate, the first female president is going to be a Republican. Mark my words, it's bound to happen. And if it doesn't happen, this was a joke. One of the groups that showed up overwhelmingly for Trump was Latinos. One of the major stories of the results is the significant surge in support for Trump among Latino voters. Trump nearly erased the Democratic advantage in this group, narrowing the gap from 33 points to just 8. Democrats gonna build the wall 50 times higher after that one. We have to have a very, very uncomfortable conversation about Latino voters in this country. Me watching him deport the Latinos and the Arab Americans after they voted for him.
You can't deport a U.S. citizen, so, these people are just coping.
And Cinco de Mayo.
To all you Latinos that voted for Trump, I hope he mass deports you and your entire family, whether you were here legally or not. You gotta go.
I know for a fact that most Latinos for Trump have...
No, this guy is crazy. I'm gonna be honest, this guy is crazy.
Undocumented family members. So if you know of a Latino who voted for Trump, I urge you to call this number and report said family members.
Donald Trump's strongest soldiers. Spiteful liberals.
People are fucking horrible.
Yeah, nothing like calling ICE on your neighbors just because they don't agree with you. That almost doesn't sound
cruel.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like anything bad at all. No, never.
Okay, you know what? Scratch what I said earlier. We need to wipe America as a whole and restart. Just fucking start. Jesus Christ.
A district that's 97% Latino went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the, no,
That's
it's on
why.
the border.
It's
the border
misogyny.
crisis is on their doorstep.
So-
and they were begging people to care about it for years. We
Misogyny
need to
and
take some
sexism.
less.
That's what that was.
Another demographic for people that overwhelmingly showed up to vote against Kamala.
Yeah, The View is a bunch of just spiteful ladies
That's
that get together.
sexism. That's what that was.
The View is a bunch of spiteful ladies that get together and just echo chamber each other.
were
so glad I don't watch
Muslims. In a
TV.
Michigan-specific poll of 502 registered Muslim voters, Stein got 59% support, followed by Trump at 22%, and Harris with a tiny 14% of the
I think it is based in this moment that Muslims voted for the Green Party. If you don't know, the Green Party is essentially the tree hugging party. It's the like ecosystem party basically.
I think we should take all of the parties and combine them into one.
That it's never gone horribly, Chloe. Ever. No, never.
I mean, if we take what the two major parties are debating about and like put them together, they've got to come to some sort of conclusion. And then, like you said, Green Party, of course our ecosystem needs to be like taken care of and actually given a shit about. So we should slam those guys in there too and then mold them all together like a big ball of Play-Doh and clay, toss them out the wall a couple of times and see what comes out of it.
So, Chloe, one-party systems is how you get stuff like China.
Well, if it fails.
That's how it works. That's not a if it fails. That's how it works in a one-party system.
Why can't the people be the party? Like I said, we live in the age of technology. If people don't want anything to do with it, they don't need to have anything to do with it. But everyone else could probably just go on a website, click a couple of buttons, and like figure stuff out themselves.
Vote. The results show significant backlash to the Biden administration's handling of Israel's brutal war in Gaza, which has killed at least 43,508 Palestinians, including more than 16,765 children, as well as how the Harris campaign chose to tackle the issue. So how exactly did they tackle that issue? Why, sending that old pervert freak Bill Clinton up to Michigan to talk down to Muslims about Palestine.
I understand why young...
Look at how old Bill Clinton looks now. Look at how tired he looks. Like one of the zombie
things. I think someone needs to put Grandpa back to bed and give him his medication.
Palestinian
I don't think
and Arab Americans
like
in
that
Michigan
should be running anything.
I think too many people have died. I get that. But
Muslims really said, we hate you more than the guy that talked about a Muslim ban. Just a side note, look at this f***ing guy. It's like he hasn't had his daily dose of adrenochrome in a week. Someone get this man a fresh child stat. Muslims, Latinos, who else are we gonna blame? Ah yes, women. Yes, Trump improved with young men, but he drew in young women too.
Wow, look at that. 52% of all women who look like me are stupid.
Despite making abortion the #1 issue in her campaign, despite Brat Summer, despite the white women for Harris Zoom calls, and most of all despite the Taylor Swift endorsement, Harris only managed to get +8 with women. Despite it all, many women came out to support Trump, especially Gen Z women. In 2020, 30% of young women
were being blamed. Yay! Anyway.
Voted for Trump. In 2024, 40% of young women voted for Trump. In fact, so many women voted for him that women on TikTok started wearing blue bracelets to signal to other women that they were one of the good ones who didn't vote for Trump.
Swifties, I'm buying as many blue beads and blue hearts as I can, and I'm gonna make bracelets so we know who we can trust.
Yeah. Anyway, some young women in response to Trump's victory are starting to get into the 4B movement. A movement
This movement is crazy.
Started in South Korea. Basically MGTOW for women. Women giving up on
If you don't know what MGTOW is, it's essentially men go their own way. Basically incel shit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dating men, having sex with men, having babies, marriage, whatever.
4B is just essentially the women version. Femcel behavior.
But sex is literally the best thing on this planet.
Cancel all future plans with men. 4B is where it's at. Use their
Oh, that's gonna get clipped. I can tell you that. That's gonna get clipped.
What sex is the best thing on this planet. You can't tell me I'm wrong. But then again, I have a man who treats me like a princess, and I'm pretty sure he's buying me what do you say? He said he was going to Jimmy John's tonight.
He's picking up
I'm
Jimmy's
spoiled.
Johnson? Whoa.
Jimmy John's.
Yeah, Jimmy's Johnson.
Jimmy. Oh yeah, it's probably gonna be a pretty big Johnson too, because those are pretty long meats, you know. Sex is the best thing on this fucking planet. I can't believe incels exist.
Their own stupid traditional views against them. Say that you don't want sex before marriage. Say that you are waiting for the right man. They will be seething because they are sexually dependent on women who they call sluts. See, this is the best angle. No sex before marriage. Give them what they voted for. So conservatives won the election and women are threatening to not sleep around. It kind of seems like the conservatives won a little more than just the election. I might do a whole video on the 4B movement. Tell me if you're interested in that. I don't know. Anyway, young men did come out and support Trump, and apparently for the reasons I and many others predicted. We asked young men why they voted for Donald Trump. Here's what they said. Nick Sumners, a 21-year-old cosmetic car repairman from Virginia, says he is pro-choice, but when he voted in the 2024 presidential election, he did so for Donald Trump. Despite his personal beliefs, he says that Trump talks about the American people in a way that resonates with him, without, in his opinion, faulting him for his gender and sexual orientation. I'm a straight white man, and I feel like we take the blame for a lot of things. Of course there are bad guys, he adds, insisting that he's not one of them just because he voted for Trump, but what appealed to him about Donald Trump was that his campaign was not coming after us. He was highlighting the American people, which we are. It doesn't matter what color you are, what you may identify as. Since I wasn't excluded, I resonated with it.
And this is the big reason, in my opinion, that the election was as one-sided as it was, in my opinion.
The Democrats just like start shitting on straight white men.
Oh, that's been standard for the left for years. A hate boner for dudes, basically.
I feel like inclusion should not be
exclusionary.
Out. Yeah, inclusion should not be exclusionary.
Yep.
Like, inclusion should include everybody, not just the people you want to include.
Exactly.
When you tell a young white guy, hey, you're an oppressor, and because you're white, you have privileges that your black and Hispanic peers didn't have, and you're inherently at fault, or you're guilty for that, which is what a lot of the left wings or Democrats are saying. We're not racist, we're not misogynistic, we're just normal people, and we are friends with everyone. We're tired of hearing a lot of this BS from a lot on the far left.
Eventually, after you blame somebody for so many years about, you know, something that they didn't do, eventually they're just gonna be tired of your shit and just leave.
I feel like there's this cultural frustration that young men have that they're not allowed to be young men. I hope the male loneliness epidemic eats you MAGA scum alive. I hope you feel a hole in your soul and feel unloved until your dying day. I hope you rot in your deathbed wondering why women looked at you like you had rabies your whole life as your eyes closed for the last time. Unfortunately, the all men suck branding just isn't good for getting men to ally with you. Oh no, it can't be! Is that the consequences of my own actions? Yes, the reasonable and rational men know you aren't talking about them, but maybe it's time to realize that most men aren't reasonable and rational. How do you speak to young men when they're literally Nazis? Why are Gen Z males the f***ing Hitler youth? How do we get young men to get on board with the young men eat shit and die movement? Hear me out. Maybe not calling them Hitler Youth? After the election, a YouTuber I am subscribed to uploaded a video called How the Right is Winning Young Men, and I was excited to see his take. But then it comes time to talk about men's issues, and this is how he did it.
But this is the part where I want to enter the male loneliness epidemic. I know, we're all tired of hearing.
The entire idea of the male loneliness epidemic is it's this idea that really centers men and men's feelings. The premise is of quite a flawed premise to begin with.
I agree. I also, I have such mixed feelings about this. I do. Unpopular though it is on the left to like give grace to the male loneliness epidemic. I have mixed feelings about it. I'm picking my words carefully so the leftists don't murder me. Like, don't rake me over the coals for this. But I think that I understand as much as I can understand a heterosexual man.
Yeah, I think we found the answer to the video title. I have to pick my words carefully so my own movement doesn't attack me for caring about men's issues. You see the issue? If you can't talk about this without having to walk on eggshells in fear of your own allies ripping your head off, maybe that is part of the reason men are moving right. Also, I feel like this is really important to say. I don't think all these men are moving right. I think just a lot of them hate the Democratic Party and feel alienated from the left. So what was the overwhelming takeaway from the Democrats and the left? To actually start listening to men? No, of course not. Instead, their solution once again seems to be we need a liberal Joe Rogan. We need a liberal Joe Rogan, ASAP. We need a left-wing Rogan. Democrats are gonna keep losing until they have their own Joe Rogan, their own Elon Musk, until they create their own alternative to Fox News. People saying Harris should have done Joe Rogan are missing the point. That wouldn't have helped her. Liberals need to build their own Joe Rogan. Oh my god, we need a liberal Joe Rogan. You had a liberal Joe Rogan. His name was Joe Rogan. But he was too edgy, too problematic, said too many no-no words, talked to too many no-no people about no-no topics, and in 2020, when Bernie Sanders went on his podcast and Joe endorsed him, the Democrat journalist class freaked the f*** out and smeared him for weeks. The left can't have a Joe Rogan, because everything that makes Joe Rogan, is not allowed on the left. Kamala Harris ditched Joe Rogan podcast interview over progressive backlash fears. So Joe Rogan was too problematic? But Liz Cheney was fine? Listen, you don't need a leftist Joe Rogan or liberal Joe Rogan. You just need leftists and liberals to go on Joe Rogan. And that means not giving a shit about being canceled by your own movement.
Look, you can have an argument with Rogan, agree with him, disagree with him, but what's the problem going on in those shows? I got vilified by some of the Democratic establishment because I went on Rogan's show. Now a lot of other people are doing just that.
Anyways, liberals should start doing podcasts and TikToks and whatever aimed at setting the youth straight. Ah yes, there's nothing the youth enjoy more than being set straight.
We don't have the equivalent of Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson to move that man in a feminist direction. By the way, we should educate men that it's actually really great to live with a strong woman who makes money. It's actually easier. Life is easier.
We're gonna be under Republican rule for the next 100 years, aren't we? Trump's win leaves Democrats asking, where are our bro whisperers? We have to make entertaining, engaging content that men want to watch and care about. Then, over time, you pepper in more progressive views. So you want to start a normal podcast and then start sprinkling in propaganda? Should you even be saying this out loud? Dems need to seriously put all their money into creating propaganda network to compete with the right's massive amount of propaganda. Democrats need their own propaganda machine, and I'm not even joking a little bit. First of all, again, I don't think we need better propaganda is something you should be saying out loud. Second of all, Democrats already have that, and have had it for decades. It's called Hollywood. It's called every celebrity, every institution, every piece of media, from movies to video games. Every celebrity from Beyonce to Taylor Swift endorsed her. She had Cardi B at all her rallies. She got the fucking Avengers together.
This is true.
Hi, you guys. Hi, Avengers.
Hey, Scarlett.
Wow, Trump is literally Thanos. By the way, with all these journalists and people talking about how we need a liberal Andrew Tate, a liberal Joe Rogan, yeah, be prepared to see some of the most forced, overproduced, astroturfed streamers and YouTubers to pop up overnight and subtly or not so subtly start shilling for the Democratic Party. You're gonna start seeing funded DNC plants all over YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, because they really do think the answer to all of this is more podcasts. All the funding in the world won't buy you an audience.
This is true.
You can have $1 million set and the best sound and video equipment ever, but it will not buy you a large and dedicated audience. I've been using a Mac laptop webcam and a shitty snowball mic for over 10 years, and you idiots keep coming back for some reason. And listen, it's 2024. Y'all have a camera and a microphone. Be the liberal Joe Rogan you want to see in the world. But the thing is, if people can hear your opinions when they turn on the TV, they're not gonna watch your shit. People tune into alt media to hear alt opinions. Even the most popular leftist streamers, like Hassan for example, spend a lot of time criticizing the Democratic Party. So it's gonna be hard to build some kind of Democrat shill Joe Rogan. But I can't wait to see you try. After the election, one of the only politicians I've seen who is actively trying to understand why people voted the way that they did is AOC. When I met her, I whispered into her ear, "Take the pronouns out of your bio." And she did. My influence. Anyway, after the election, AOC found out that a ton of people voted for her down ballot, but also voted for Trump for president on the same ticket. Curious, she took to her Instagram to ask people why they did that. And these were some of their answers. I feel like Trump and you are both real. It's real simple. Trump and you care for the working class. But also you signified change. Trump signified change. I've said lately, Trump sounds more like you. Loved ones say you're both straightforward and challenging corruption and broken government. Because it's different than what has been the last 4 years. Something had to go. I feel that you both are outsiders compared to the rest of DC and less establishment. Voted Trump, but I like you and Bernie. I don't trust either party establishment politicians. The replies, of course, were full of people like, these idiots, these morons, these fools. Most depressing shit I've ever seen. These people sound dumb as hell. Such staggering ignorance and stupidity. The median voter. I hate the median voter. I want to destroy the median voter. Why is the median voter this stupid? I hate the median voter. How could this be real? Americans really are the dumbest gentlemen on earth. This is giving me a headache. I don't understand the median voter. Listen, it's really not that hard to understand. It's populism, honey. It's why when I went to January 6th and told a bunch of boomers I was a Bernie supporter, a ton of them reacted like this.
I think he's one of the few honest people yeah, I think he's honest. He beat Hillary Clinton, and he would have beat Joe Biden, too.
People hate empty suits that sound like they're constantly reading from a script. They want someone who tells it like it is. Someone who fights for the everyman, or at least sounds like they do.
How are you feeling about Trump's upcoming presidency, Trump 2?
I voted for him.
Oh, you like AOC?
Yeah.
Did you vote for her?
Yeah. Remember one thing about why people voted for Trump. They want change.
The average American voter despises the establishment and will vote for anyone who promises to destroy it. And the fact that none of you understand this is a big reason why you lost and will continue to lose until you do understand it. Capiche? The beatings will continue until the populism improves. How could people have voted for this felon? How could they vote for Trump, especially after January 6th, where he led a bunch of his supporters to destroy that beautiful shining beacon of hope? Well, first of all, you have to understand that that's not a shining beacon of hope to most people. That is a dirty, disgusting brothel that sold out the future of their children and will probably send them into the next world war. After all the indictments, the mugshots, the committees, the documentaries, people clearly don't care about January 6th. And that might scare some people, but the truth is, a politician that promises safety and affordable food can do 100 January 6s. It's kind of like FDR said. Democracy has disappeared in several other great nations. Not because the people of those nations dislike democracy, but because they had grown tired of unemployment and insecurity, of seeing their children hungry while they sat helpless in the face of government confusion and government weakness through lack of leadership. Finally, in desperation, they chose to sacrifice liberty in hope of getting something to eat. Speaking of—
And I will pause for this one because this is pretty good. He's got a really good point on that, in all honesty, because, you know, people will sacrifice their freedoms and stuff for the sake of, like, you know, feeding their family or feeding themselves, because that's just it's just nature, really, at that point, because, you know, it's a requirement for your survival. At the end of the day, you can't really survive without nutrition, without nourishment.
Of FDR, let's talk a little bit about the guy that FDR stole a bunch of his ideas from, shall we? Someone who the modern Democratic Party should probably try and learn from. That's right, I finally found an excuse to talk about my favorite politician. The man, the myth, the legend, the kingfish himself, Huey Long. Huey Long was the 40th governor of Louisiana from 1928 to 1932. He was a populist member of the Democratic Party and rose to national prominence during the Great Depression. He took on big oil and Wall Street and drastically helped lift Louisiana out of poverty. Long had many supporters and haters, and to this day is celebrated as a populist champion of the people, and at the same time, denounced as a fascist demagogue. To give you a better idea of who Huey was, here are some quotes from the man himself. Corrupted by wealth and power, your government is like a restaurant with only one dish. They've got a set of Republican waiters on one side and a set of Democratic waiters on the other. But no matter which set of waiters brings you the dish, the legislative grub is all prepared in the same Wall Street kitchen. The only difference I ever found between the Democratic leadership and the Republican leadership is that one of them is skinning you from the ankle up and the other from the ear down. But Huey Long wasn't some enlightened centrist, no. The man firmly had a side, and that side was the people. I'm for the poor man, all poor men, black and white, They all gotta have a chance. They gotta have a home, a job, a decent education for their children. Every man a king. That's my slogan.
And that's
when
based.
asked if he cared about the bad press he got, Huey replied, "All I care about is what the boys at the forks of the creek think of me." And when Big Oil threatened to leave Louisiana, he said, "If they gotta leave, they can go to hell and stay there." They don't make politicians like this
They really
anymore.
don't.
Politicians used to be like mob bosses. Now they go on Call Her Daddy podcasts. Sad. Huey had many powerful enemies, and because of this, he was assassinated in 1935. His last words were allegedly, "God, don't let me die. I have so much to do." There's a lot of talk online right now about how we need a Joe Rogan for the left, an Andrew Tate for the left, but there's also talk about how we need a Donald Trump for the left, and well, Huey Long was exactly that. And to be completely honest, I don't think you people could handle a Donald Trump for the left. You couldn't even handle Bernie Sanders. You called him a sexist and a racist and did everything in your power to crush him and keep him down. But unlike Bernie, Huey Long wouldn't just lay down and take it. Huey Long would scare the shit out of the modern Democratic Party. But if there's anyone they need to take a lesson from, it's him. Alright, time to get out of this costume. I feel like an old hooer. It should come as no great surprise that the Democratic Party, which has abandoned working class people, would find that the working class had abandoned them. Bernie Sanders said in a statement about the results of Tuesday's election, "While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want change, and they're right. Will the big money interests and well-paid consultants who control the Democratic Party learn any real lessons from this disastrous campaign? Will they understand the pain and political alienation that tens of millions of Americans are experiencing? Do they have any ideas as to how we can take on the increasingly powerful oligarchy, which has so much economic power? Probably not. All the groups that Sanders originally courted, young people, Latinos, the working class, are gone. And I don't know if they're coming back. Maybe this is a one-time thing, maybe it's just because of Trump or inflation, or maybe the meme is coming true. Maybe Republicans are the new party of the working class. Democrats' working class exodus sets off reckoning within party. Democrats, who have long prided themselves as the party for the little guy, instead strengthened their emerging base of financially secure college graduates this election, while a growing number of blue-collar voters embraced Trump and Republicans. Especially alarming for Democrats this election, the exodus of working class voters from the Democratic Party included not just white voters, but helped Trump make gains with Latino and black men. This realignment crystallized a political reality that is tough for Democrats to swallow. With blue-collar voters flocking away from their party over multiple election cycles, Democrats' refashioned base is becoming more upper-class, urban, suburban, and coastal. It's a narrow coalition that does not bode well for future elections. To put things into perspective, the Trump coalition is closer to the Obama coalition than the Harris one is. That is crazy. That is wild. That is what we call a potential party switch. And I don't really care about how many leftists or Democrats cope about this. We have better union policies. We have better wages policy. Yeah, that might be true, and I agree, but we don't get to decide who the party of the working class is. The working class does. And if exit polls are anything to go by, basic left-wing economic policy is still incredibly popular. People just hate the Democratic Party. White men without college degrees are going to ruin this country. First of all, white men without college degrees built this country, bitch. Second of all, this is apparently a real Democratic Party strategist saying this. You want to know how to win 2028? Step 1. Stop listening to freaks like this. The election, if having a degree was a requirement to vote. And this is what the election would look like if everyone was allowed to vote. Oh wait, that's this election. I too hate democracy.
And I think Bernie Sanders is wrong. I think the more relevant question actually is what is wrong with America?
Democrats have a smug problem. The day after the election, an NBC News chart circulated on Instagram that highlighting exit poll data showing that the more education you had, the more likely you would vote for Vice President Kamala Harris over President-elect Donald Trump. Some liberals used the occasion to look down upon the icky dummies who were too stupid to know they shouldn't vote for Trump. Yet Trump's victory was both definitive and diverse. He won broad swaths of the electorate, making significant gains in New York and California, and winning over larger percentages of Latino voters and young voters than in 2020. He also won a majority of first-time voters. Large factions of the left condescendingly believe that dumb people are the reason Trump won in 2016 and won again in 2024. And that patronizing, visceral vibe is obvious. It's a massive turnoff to many other voters. It is a mountain smug Democrats have to overcome if they want to reconnect with voters. Once, the coastal liberal establishment had an air of open-mindedness. But now, these elites have evolved into the provincial, narrow-minded scolds they once critiqued. All their education has narrowed their worldview. Their credentialism has built themselves a bubble in which to hide from reality. The contempt many liberals and some leftists have for the working class has never been more on display than it is right now. Even coming from some leftist YouTubers I watch that I know better and spend a lot of their time trying to bring people to the left. Your college degree does not make you any smarter than a working class person without a college degree. And more importantly, don't talk down to a vast majority of the population, because despite how badly you want to believe it, they are not stupid. They are the people who grow your food, build your houses, pave your roads, fix the plumbing in your luxury apartments. And guess what? There are more of them than there are of you. So maybe you people should start listening to them instead of wagging your finger in their faces as if disagreeing with you is some moral failing, because it's not. These people aren't all racists and Nazis or whatever. They are normal people. They are the proletariat. They're who you should be fighting for. And they don't believe you are fighting for them. More importantly, there is a difference between being educated and being smart. IQ isn't just about how many books you read or how many words you know. A lot of it is about pattern recognition, and boy did I recognize some patterns here. Maybe you guys should have listened to the bimbo with populist brain rot, because she seemed to be right about a lot of this. If the Democratic Party wants to win another election, they need to start understanding the importance of populism. Drop the divisive identity politics and focus on the bread and butter issues, or you are doomed. Become the party of Huey Long again, or you are doomed. But you know what? Maybe you're not doomed. Because if Trump fails to deliver on his promises, or we get like George Bush 3, it's totally possible that the populism vacuum will be open again. Will the Democrats take advantage of this and actually put up a good candidate? No. They're gonna put up like Pete Buttigieg or Gavin Newsom, and the populism vacuum will be filled by people like my Twitter mutual and soon-to-be Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance. This election was a complete rejection of the liberal ideology. Or it was just because of inflation and people want to afford eggs again. Yeah, it was probably that. It just kind of sucks to see the party you voted for your whole life, the party you grew up with, just get worse and worse over time. After this, the Democrats are gonna move right in the dumbest ways. They're gonna become like the new neocons, but gay. And I have no idea how a second Trump term is gonna go. I hope it goes well. I don't know. Congrats to RFK, I guess. I'll see you guys in the Adderall labor camps. Otherwise known as the concentration camps. Get it? Okay.
Right. Any closing comments, Chloe?
Politics are stupid.
Yes. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you all in the next video. We're probably going to be covering... Not quite yet, Chloe. We're probably going to be covering the male loneliness epidemic next, because I kind of forgot to cover that one next. Whoops. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you all in the next one.